In health news, biotech firms around the world are racing to develop a vaccine for the coronavirus, officially known as COVID-19. The death toll has surpassed 2,600 since the outbreak began in Wuhan, China in December of 2019. Another 79,000 infections have been reported across at least 35 countries, with 99% of confirmed cases in China. Now, as the mainstream media hypes up the threat of coronavirus, it's important to zoom out and look at the big picture. While global concerns over a possible coronavirus pandemic are absolutely warranted, especially without a vaccine, there are other common viruses that are almost just as deadly. Data collected by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention show that up to 30,000 Americans have died from the flu this season alone. That's out of an estimated 31 million people infected. And on a global scale, the World Health Organization estimates that between 290,000 and 650,000 people die every year from the flu. Jimmy, of course, we should worry about any new virus, but do you think the media is creating this fear porn about this?
Well, yeah, it certainly does seem that way. That when you look at the numbers and what's happening in Italy is kind of interesting too, right? Everybody seems to be overreacting. There's that cruise ship that they quarantined. I heard the comedian on there just walked off and they didn't stop him. I just heard that. I don't know if that's true. Don't quote me on that. But right now, yeah, I mean, the media loves stuff like this. This is like when that plane went down and they couldn't figure out why. And remember, they just kept, and Don Lemon would come out and said, maybe it was a UFO, just sucked it up. So this is that kind of a thing. They love this kind of a thing. This is their wheelhouse, bread and butter. Yeah, they're loving it.
Right now, the 2.3% death rate from COVID-19 is slightly higher than the flu's 0.1% death rate. But experts say that deaths from the coronavirus are likely lower because some people with the virus might not even be accounted for due to a lack of symptoms. Now, majority of people that get this, of course, survive, just like a majority of people who get the flu. With such low mortality rates, again, are you really worried about the coronavirus? Should we be sitting up at night worrying about getting this thing that has a 2% death rate?
So I was worrying about it. I went out and bought some cereal, extra water. I started to dig a bunker. And then I heard the numbers, and I'm like, so if 98% of the people who get this don't die, are we really worried? I mean, people die from the flu all the time, like you said. People die
usually older people who have other illnesses. It's the same thing here.
It seems to be that way, right? So why do you think we're overreacting? So it is higher, right? So there is the death rate from the regular flu is like 0.1%, and this is 2%, 2.3. So it is higher, but it's maybe since I'm not a scientist or a doctor, maybe that is unbelievably alarming, that 2% jump. But to me, as a layperson, it doesn't seem to be unbelievably alarming. I don't know.
As new coronavirus cases appeared this week in Italy, Iran, and South Korea, the Dow dropped to its lowest point in 2 years. Businesses and investors are now preparing for a possible economic slowdown as they monitor how quarantines have slowed businesses in China. Factories there, of course, play a major role in the global economy. Jimmy, tensions between Washington and Beijing are already high due to the trade war before the coronavirus outbreak. This could make them worse. It was easy when Trump was calling the shots on trade with China, but now trade is slowing due to something completely outside of his control. And as a result, the new U.S.-China energy trade deal could just blow up in his face. The pact required China to buy over $52 billion worth of additional U.S. energy products. But for the first time in a decade, the world's demand for crude oil will decline in the first quarter of the year due to a fall in oil demand in China, which is the world's biggest oil importer.
You know, I didn't think that relations between China and the U.S. could get any worse after Rush Hour 3. So, but here we are. You know what else I found out is that so 80% of all dresses and prom dresses and things like that are made in China. So now lots of people have paid for their orders, paid for their dresses. They're all getting made. It's not happening because they're getting factories quarantined.
It's not just dresses, it's houses.
Yeah.
So in LA, there's a bunch of development, all these new buildings, and half of them are like, we can't finish our project because we can't get the parts from China to finish the staircases and whatever else they're doing.
Right, yeah. So this is having it's affecting every part. And as you said previously, it seems to be a bit of an overreaction, right? So You would think capitalists would care less about people's health than they do about their capital. So this is a little confusing, right?
Yeah, it is. Maybe their narrative will change.
And of course, I personally think there's an over-exaggeration of the danger of that, but that's a there's danger in me just saying that. I'm not sure they really understand everything about the coronavirus. And if you go by deaths being reported, you should get a little bit of reassurance, because there's essentially no deaths in the United States, and yet this flu season, we've had 10,000 Americans die from influenza. And in a year, it can be 600,000. You know, it's all the reaction to it, and it looks like it was in the interest of some people to stir up the fear and problems that are going on. So, but it's just practically impossible now for the politicians or anybody else to help us say, calm down a little bit, let's think about it. But you know what? There have been a few scientists and people who were well trained in this type of a problem and epidemiology, and they come up with some sensible explanations. But politically, it's easy to demagogue this and try to place blame on the opposition.
First of all, let's look at the first move that was taken by the Trump administration to suspend flights coming from China to protect the safety and health and well-being of the American people, to prevent the spread of coronavirus here to our shores. Similarly, this is what needs to happen with Japan, South Korea, and Italy, these other countries who are going through a serious outbreak that they are dealing with. And like you said, there is still no screening taking place, not only on arrival with people coming here, but what I think needs to be done is people should be tested before they get on the plane. In that case, and in that instance, if people are tested, they come out negative, then they can go about their business. This will have some economic impact. There's no doubt about it. But that impact in the short term now, by taking this action, will pale in comparison to the economic hardship and challenges we'll face in this country if these flights are allowed to continue. People are coming here potentially infected with this virus, and then it is allowed to continue to spread. The hardship on the lives of the American people and the hardship on our economy will be far-reaching and longer-lasting.